Welcome to Talking Tech with Creative podcast. I'm Stella Oni, and today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I attended the London Book Fair for the 9th to the 11th of March, and I took quite a few notes, took a few photos, which I haven't even shared on social media. It was quite exciting. I was able to attend a couple of days, and I actually had a lot of pages of writing and recording, just a mix of it to just try and get as much information as possible from the book fair. My focus when I go to the book fair is always trying to look at trends for the future, especially when it comes to publishing and technology. I've always been interested in that. Everything else I leave behind, but I just want to know what is happening for the future. And London Book Fair is just a good place to actually be able to spot not just the trend, but get a taste of what is happening in the publishing world. And it's a good way to actually make friends and so on. So I really enjoyed it, and I wish I was able to attend the full 3 days. But before I talk about the London Book Fair and what happened, I wanted to touch on the UK government policy, what was happening in the book fair in terms of AI, pushback on AI, and all whatnot. What I'll say is that if you're a writer, a creative, or even someone building an audience, what is happening right now will affect how your work is discovered, how it is read, and ultimately whether your work is found at all. So please, I was quite excited about all the things I found out. And I'm hoping to get one of the speakers to come to for me to interview them so that they can actually say more. But I will first of all touch on what is going on, what went on in the book fair, pushbacks, and other things. There was a lot of just I know there were I'm sure lots of conversation around deals, rights, and trends, but we're looking at AI because AI is the thing that is the big thing now. So we're looking at how AI and creativity, like who owns creativity in the age of AI? Because with everything going on, that will have to come in at some point. So the UK government have been trying to position themselves as the global leader in AI technology because they want to innovate very quickly, they want to move fast, they want to stay competitive. But one proposal sent like a shock through the industry, and that was about, I can't even remember when that proposal came, but I remember signing something to counter it. I remember most of us were encouraged to sign something and submit it to the UK government because it was just not right. So the idea that AI companies could train their models on copyrighted work by default, that was what the UK government was proposing. So they would train their models on books, articles, music, art, everything, unless the creator actively opts out. That's where the problem comes. So in theory, it sounds okay for a creator to opt out, but what the UK government was doing was placing a burden on the creator. So I, as a writer, would have to track where my work is being used. Artists would have to monitor data sets they can't even see. And for many, especially independent people who are creating, it's just not possible to be tracking everything. So the authors, publishers, musicians, the creative industries, all were saying the same thing. You can't build $1 billion AI system on our work and then ask us to chase you to stop it. It didn't make sense. So there was a lot of resistance from quite a lot of well-known public figures came to the screen to talk about it, to talk on TV, to talk on social media, and to talk on different platforms. I am a member of the Society of Authors, and they were very vocal, very supportive of us. They fought hard. And so I'm just full of admiration for Society of Authors. Thank you very much. And at the London Book Fair, Society of Authors did two things. They launched Human Authored campaign. I will put a link in the show notes, a database where authors can register their work to say it's human authored. So that's one campaign going on. It's just drawing a sand. It's saying that this work comes from a human mind, a human life, and experience. And that is very important. Then there was another one, Don't Steal This Book, where a book signed by thousands of authors was published. So it's got all the authors. So it's a blank book with all the authors' name, and the cover says, Don't Steal This Book. So it was there was a big collaboration that Society of Authors. I'm so sorry, I'm trying to remember the other collaborator, but I'll get the name and I'll add it to the show notes because I didn't do enough of my homework. I can't remember. And I was at London Book Fair, but I don't quite remember his name. But it was very well done. So that was that. So what we're saying about this is that we're just not even looking at just the legal argument. There's so many things, but we're looking at, okay, who is in control of their work, who has ownership, and human creativity has a value. It has to have a value in a system where AI can actually replicate this thing at scale. So we have to value human contribution and everything. So that's where it's happened. So the government have now stepped back, the UK government have now stepped back and have now decided that they are going to have more consultation, more conversation, and they've recognized that they were going to implement something that was one-sided, and that is not okay at all. Everybody, so the industry is now looking and watching to see what will be happening next. So that's where the story happens. So for me, as a writer, I work at the intersection of creativity and technology, and I'm not choosing sides. I am a creative. In fact, I'm a creative first and a technologist second. I love technology, but technology to assist us in ensuring that we were more efficient in our process as an assistant. But when it comes to pure creation, I'm full of creative ideas, comes from different places, and I've worked hard to mold that into the form, which is the written form. And I could not generate a story. It is my own personal, deeply personal feeling that my work has to come from deep within me. It has to, because it's a mix of my experience, my imagination, and everything else, my background. So everything comes together to make my work. I can't have my work being replicated by a machine, because then where am I as a creative? So I have very strong feelings about that. When it comes to, marketing and other kind of functions, quite all right. That one could use an assistant of sort, but purely creative work that comes from deep within me, I'd rather narrate that myself as a human, my own experience. So that's my feeling. I just don't believe that we can erase, because what are we then if we are erasing what makes us human? Our stories, if we erase that and hand that over to machines, what does that make us? Now to London Book Fair. I attended quite a few sessions, and I will list out the ones that stood out for me, because my feedback is a mix of all of the sessions that I attended. So I attended one session called Lifelines or Pipelines, Creating International Publishing Structure That Shift. Then I attended one, The Future of Publishing Technology Beyond the AI Debate. Then the next one, Women in African Publishing, hosted by African Books Collective. The one that two that actually really excited me because they were to do with technology was how AI, metadata, SEO, and GEO can help you sell more books worldwide. That blew my mind. So I'm very happy to share it with you. And the last one was Decoding the US Book Market by Sikana Books Datasets. So let me now go through what I found. Across the multiple sessions, one of the most exciting things that came out was that readers haven't gone anywhere. In fact, readers are coming back. Print is doing very well, especially in the US. Now there's a 60-40 split in favor of print over digital, even in some areas. And the interesting thing is why that is the case. Guess what? People are tired. They are tired of screens. They are tired of being constantly online. It's a real shift back to what one would call the analog experience. In fact, my own experience on Instagram, when I started finding out that YouTube and Instagram, that there were quite a lot of AI creation there, that I didn't know were AI. I started looking for real humans. So there's pushback, even in music. If I'm trying to do more research or go back to old music just to try and avoid, AI creations. It's just the idea that I just want a human behind it. Or if it's AI, to declare that it's AI. That's a real shift back to what I would call analog experience. And funny enough, I'm going to be doing some experimentation on visual work using a mix, and I'll be discussing that as well with you. So I'll be quite transparent about that. This one is someone I'm working with, a filmmaker, and we're looking at the format of what we're going to do if we get a short story that I've written by me completely and see how we translate it to a graphic format. I would tell you more about it as time goes on. There's a reshift back into people who want to go back into traditional experience, journals, guided books, coloring books, physical objects. People are not just thinking about reading. People want to use reading as a way to slow down because the world is just going too fast and things are happening out there and people just want to escape. That's a shift. What is growing? We're seeing strong growth in manga, graphic novels, activity-based books. Then adult fiction still remains a very strong pillar in the whole market because especially like writers are still thinking, oh, is fiction still viable? Fiction is still viable. Keep creating, my friends, keep creating. But it's not just about you writing the fiction. It's about you connecting with your readers because readers are going back to romance, they're going back to mystery, they're going back to fantasy. I particularly started watching my Netflix again because I was quite busy this past quarter. And now I'm just catching up on my mystery, watching mystery. So I'm doing that at the moment while I'm doing quite a lot of reading. I'm reading Agatha Christie, quite a lot of books that I'm reading because I've got a lecture that I'm doing and I'm just going back to all the books, physical books. I actually got physical books, all the books, all the ones I read before. And yeah, most of them I'd read anyway, but I didn't have all of the books, so I got all the books. So books to hold. It's not because these genres are trendy, but people are looking for comfort, they're looking for escape, they're looking for emotional clarity. It's about you understanding reader behavior. And so another thing is search has changed. So please note this down carefully. We're moving from SEO, which is search engine optimization, Google search was all about search engine optimization. I have an earlier episode on search engine optimization. Go look at my episode. I can't quite remember the number, but I have an episode with Abidemi Sanusi where we talked about search engine optimization if you want to know more about that. We're moving from SEO to something called GEO, Generative Engine Optimization. So in the past, with SEO, discovery was all about keywords on Google, ranking, algorithms. But now, the search is all about context, meaning, authority. So it's moving away. We knew that Google changed and Google was looking for more context-based information. That change in algorithm happened a while back. But AI is now at the forefront of these searches, at the forefront. So even though there's a pushback against generative AI in terms of creating things, we're talking about AI now in other areas. So AI is at the forefront. Google uses AI search. So when you put something on Google, the first thing that comes up, in fact, quite a few pushback because the first thing that comes up is the AI generated information. For me, sometimes I just scan very quickly. If I'm looking for information, the AI offers me my answer because I'm an expert in that subject. So I would know if I can rely on that answer or not. That I'll look at the AI answer and I don't go further. But if I'm looking for more, then I scroll past the AI answer. So AI is no longer just scanning for words. It's trying to understand what something means. It's looking at who is saying it, whether they can be trusted, whether their content is structured and clear. That AI answer that you've got goes to certain sites and looks at this. That means that your website, if you're an author or a writer, a creative, having a website has become vital. It's important if you want your work to be included in searches for the future, because you cannot avoid. This is an area that unless the technology companies like Google stop using AI for this is the future. So your website should be your own library, not Amazon. So you should have a website and you should have authority on your website. That's a shift because a lot of us rely on platforms like Amazon or social media, but AI is now looking for structured content, original sources, and clear authority. And I remembered asking a question of one of the speakers. I asked about what they meant by structured content, and he said there's a website called schema.org. I will put a link at the bottom of this schema.org, schema.org, that will show you what a structured content looks like. Schema.org. So if you don't own your own content ecosystem, your website is your home. Remember, your website is your home address. Platforms, any kind of platform is your rented, where you're renting. And that means that your landlord could make any decision at any point, at any time, and you have to comply. So your website, your content is your ecosystem. If you don't have your content ecosystem, you might not be properly found by this new search, GEO search. Very simply, you need to build an ecosystem, so not just a book. Each book should have its own page. This is all things I picked up in the book fair, so it's not me, it's things I picked up. So each book should have its own page with a clear description, themes, emotional tone, FAQ. Sounds like a lot, but these are the things that the AI is looking for answers, looking for, and you are the authority. You're the owner of your book, your website, and that page. So as much information as possible for the AI to be able to pick up on your work. You also need articles, interviews, podcast transcripts, so anything that you can put on your website that will give AI the clear direction. it will allow you to build authority. So I'm assuming that when it's pop transcript with someone like myself, I have Talking Tech with Creative Podcast. I've got my podcast transcripts on YouTube. I've got because I've got a video. This is a video. And I've got my transcripts on my website, generated to my website. And Talking Tech Creative Podcast has its own website as well. So all of that is almost like an authority for the podcast. Then another thing is that 3 months, if so you don't publish and then just disappear. If your information is older than 3 months, it's already considered old. So you kind of have to be putting some content, some kind of content. So my website has suffered a bit because I've not focused that much on my website, but some information like my interviews are generated to my website. So that's new information that goes in every 2 weeks, hopefully, because sometimes I sleep to once a month. That's what I've been doing. I think at some point I was going to once a month rather than every 2 weeks, but I'll still getting content onto the website. Then another thread that is a bit more political was when I attended the Women in African Publishing and some other bits. So those talked a little bit about publishing not just being cultural, but it is structural in terms of things like the power still sits in London and New York mainly. And for many writers, especially from the global south, there are still barriers around distribution, visibility, rights. And one of the questions was, who controls knowledge then? If visibility is controlled not by the people from the global south, or because of lack of visibility and distribution, who controls knowledge? Because if you control what is translated, what is published, then what is visible? That is a question that came up. You shape what the world reads. The idea of building alternative system. So there was discussion around building alternative system, community-driven models, direct audience relationships, writers connecting readers in new ways. And I'm trying to do that even myself. I'm trying to do that now, connecting with my readers in a different way to really just get feedback on your work, get people who, like your work or people who read it and are committed to it. So if I step back and look at everything I learned, it comes down to this. Publishing is no longer just about writing a book. It's about being discoverable, owning your audience, building your own infrastructure. And the good news is writers today have more tools than ever before, but we also have responsibility because if we don't shape how our work is found, something else will. Thank you very much for listening. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts about it. And if you're interested in how creativity and technology are shaping the future, you can explore more episodes at Talking Tech with Creatives. Thank you very much. Until next time, looking forward to connecting with you again. Bye-bye.